It's the 30th of November. Wind's just picked up a bit. And we should have a new lamb today. We were advised by our lovely neighbours that it arrived on Thursday at about lunchtime, and we think it's a ram lamb, and walk up and see if we can see it now. Ah, there it is, just laying down there. Hey sheeps! Hey sheeps! Hey sheeps! It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. He's quite lovely. Still tiny. So he'd be, assuming it is a ram, he'd be, what, 2 days old. Hey Edmund, come and say hello. Come and say hello. Come. Hey little lamb. Hey little lamb. Come and say hello. Good girl. Good girl. Good boy. Having a rest there. I still have plenty of milk. Hey, you want to say hello? You want to say hello? You just have to be quite gentle with them. Good. And as a ram, there definitely is a difference in the behaviour between the ram lamb and the ewe lamb. He's sort of, and I've been able to observe that since, you know, an hour after he was born. So I would like to keep this ewe lamb, obviously, to perhaps replenish breeding stock, but the conundrum that you have, of course, is that you can't keep a daughter of the same ram that you want to keep. So I haven't quite worked out what to do about that yet, because I do want to keep Edmund, I think. Edmund, come say hello. You want to say hello? Really shouldn't sit down with Edmund like this. There we go. Presumably she'll call to her lamb in a moment and wake him up. Where's your lamb? He's obviously fast asleep, this little lamb. Where is he? I guess he slipped past me, but oh no, there he is. Can get your baby. That worries me a little bit. Hey little lamb. Hey little lamb. Are you okay? There he is. There you are. I think it's actually a ewe lamb. You okay? You okay? So the neighbours indicated it was a ram, but that's not a ram. I don't think. It's a little more docile than the other ones, I have to say. Not as lively. Hey. Hey, little lamb. Hey, little lamb. Hey, little lamb. No, it's a ewe. For sure. Up here with the whole flock. Newest little lamb here. Hey, little lamb. This little lamb was born 2 days ago, on the 28th of November. And these lambs were born on the 13th of November. And there is actually another lamb hiding behind there. Okay, so I have a theory that this little lamb is deaf. I'm walking up to her now so she can't see me, and when I touch her, nothing. So her mother is calling to her, but she does not respond. So that's unusual. It's okay, Mum. I mean, there's just no response at all. So I have a feeling this lamb is deaf. Now, presumably she's not blind. No, she's not blind. But I think she is deaf. It's okay, little lamb. And she should be calling back to her mother. So I've said this on other videos before, but my idea, these lambs should be smaller than the Dorpers by reason of being half Harlequin mini meat sheep. If I were inclined to keep any of these, which look, probably I'm not at this stage anyway. But doing this kind of thing, being around them from the time that they're born and just having them much quieter is definitely what I would do. I'm glad she's having a drink. Keep her milk flowing. Because when I am living out here and interacting with the animals more, which I really, really look forward to doing, you don't want them to be wild, as these ewes kind of were when we first got them. They've quietened down a lot, obviously, as you can see now, but they're still quite wild. They, you know, for instance, this ewe wouldn't let me get the shaggy wool off her back here. It is difficult to drench her, to vaccinate her. She'll run full steam ahead at a fence if she wants to get away from you. And so, if I were living here, I would be inclined to be handling these lambs kind of from this age, even putting halters on them and perhaps teaching them to tie and to lead. It just makes it much easier if you need to work with them in the future, and much less stress for the animal as well. If they understand that you're not a threat to them. So the idea is to get a halter on Edmund very soon, actually, so that we can potentially walk him down. You can actually just see in the distance down there a house, and that's very near to where he would need to go. It's actually a little bit closer than that house on the hill there. But if I can just walk him down the road and get him down there, then he can spend the next 6 months or so with them and their ewes, and leave the girls and their lambs here, and then we look at bringing him back in 6 months or so. How I'm going to work that, I just don't know yet, with having 2 ewe lambs and Edmund here. Obviously they can't run together because he'll breed them, which is not what I want. But maybe we just have to bite the bullet and put in some fencing, so we have some separate paddocks. That might be what we need to do, I think. Having the sheep has just been, the sheep are just so lovely to have them here. Useful in terms of keeping grass down, but it's such a joy having them, and particularly seeing these lambs. I mean, they're just delightful little things. And yes, you know, if as hard as it is to acknowledge, if you eat meat, if you eat lamb, this is what your lambs look like. This is what your food looks like. And I, you know, to be honest, I really can't. Big bird of prey flying around up there. I can't even really bring myself to think about, you know, processing these lambs. That's the polite way to put it. Taking the life of these lambs to butcher them. I mean, it's just impossible to think about. But the fact is, I eat lamb. This is what my food looks like. And you know, I've said it before, I'm sure on camera, if we can't bring ourselves to deal with these lambs, then we really have to think about ceasing the consumption of meat, because I don't care what it is, whether it's pork or beef or chicken, everything starts out life as pleasant and as beautiful and with as much love as this. This is the reality. This is what you have to confront. Edmund and his son having a little standoff there. So it will be a real challenge for us. And hey, look, this is what we signed up for. This is part of the reason that we wanted to do this, was to produce our own food, or become a little bit more responsible for the food that we ate. Good girl. She's not that thirsty. And you can see already, just by spending just a little bit of time with them, how quiet they are. Even the ewes to allow me to be this close. Ah, that's a big yawn. You okay, Mum? Your lamb's deaf, I think. He's got a bit of grain, that lamb, I think.